You're listening to Eating for Eden, episode 27. When it comes to doing something about climate change, your food choices matter. Thanks for tuning in to Eating for Eden, a podcast that takes a food-first approach to climate action. I'm your host, Jessica J. Schroeder, and I am passionate about food that tastes good and does good. I'll guide you with practical tips and help you thoroughly enjoy your food along the way. Before we get started today, I want to let you know that I'm currently offering highly discounted, let's call it dirt cheap, nutrition coaching. If you'd like to hear a bit more detail about this, check out last week's episode, number 26, to hear more. In that episode, I talk about this offer, who it's for, what to expect, and so forth. There are only 3 spots currently available, so don't wait. If you're listening to this episode well after it was released and you're still interested in coaching, I encourage you to reach out and see what I'm up to now and what my going rates are at this time. I'd love to hear from you either way. All right, with that, let's dive into today's topic. A few weeks ago, I was traveling in the UK, and while I was pleased to find that most restaurants had vegetarian and vegan options available, I was equally disappointed by how many of these were simply plant-based versions of animal foods. For instance, many breakfast menus will offer vegetarian and vegan versions of a full English breakfast, complete with vegan sausages and/or black pudding. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for plant-based meat alternatives and other similar products. I eat them myself on occasion, and they are a terrific transitional food for habitual meat eaters exploring how to reduce their meat consumption. But restaurant after restaurant, I continue to wonder why the plant-based options had to lean so heavily toward mimicking animal products. Plant foods are incredibly diverse and varied. They inherently hold a massive amount of potential for a range of delicious preparations. Why not make unadulterated plants the star instead of trying to imitate meat, eggs, and cheese, and whatever else? Well, I guess I'll go ahead and name the obvious up front. It's because animal products are tasty. People like them. Even those eating plant-predominant or plant-exclusive often miss certain animal products. So in that sense, I get it. However, by emphasizing mimicry, we're missing out on other possibilities, rich plant potential. The main point behind my question is that by restaurants offering mimicry and customers ordering mimicry, they tend to be missing out on the beauty of what plants are and can be when they aren't trying to be something else. Plants have so much to offer, but too often we relegate them to the roles of imitators rather than allowing them to shine through their own inherent brilliance. I must concede, however, that it is part of plants' brilliance that enables them to be adapted in such creative ways so as to make imitative versions of animal products. This is indeed a benefit. I don't have a problem admitting, even celebrating this. At the same time, this is not an argument for relegating plants to such a role. This should be a small piece of the pie, so to speak. Plants should play a far larger role in our diets simply, quote, being themselves. Here's a case in point, also from my trip. While attending a conference during my travel, dinner was provided for me on 2 evenings. In both cases, then, I did not have the choice of what was being served, aside from having asked for a vegan option in advance. At the first dinner, the plant-based plate served to me was a veggie burger on a bun with all the usual fixings, including a vegan cheese and some kind of sauce presumably made with a vegan mayo. Alongside was a cabbage, slaw, and french fries. A typical greasy, handheld dinner many Westerners would order at a bar, tavern, or gastropub, but made out of plants. Being quite hungry at that point, I was happy to just tuck in, but let me be clear, it was nothing to write home about. The second dinner, however, celebrated plants. I was served white bean and black garlic pansati, which was basically a larger triangular version of ravioli made with a slightly thicker, delightfully toothsome pasta. Served on a bed of mashed celeriac and plump, fresh English peas, topped with a lovely pepper sauce, basil oil, and hazelnuts. Okay, wow. This dish wasn't trying to be something it wasn't. It relished in being itself in all of its beautiful, diverse, plentiful goodness. I can't help but wonder, why is there so much emphasis on trying to make plant-based versions of animal products? Why not place more emphasis on making plants shine? I understand that people are used to eating meat and want to recreate that experience, but are we simply leaning on a cane for support we no longer need? Can we lay it aside to walk confidently and joyfully through the bountiful abundance of celebrating the beauty of plants in our meals? Again, don't misunderstand me. I recognize both the utility and desirability of numerous plant-based animal food swaps, especially products like plant milks. I use soy milk nearly every day, but it's an ingredient in my breakfasts that feature whole grains, fruits, and nuts and seeds. Arguably, my breakfasts are still a celebration of plants, not an attempt at mimicking animal products. I also realize that I'm a huge proponent of using soy products in particular to make cheese swaps. But in doing so, I'm typically using those things as part of a larger whole that is allowing plant foods to shine. For instance, I might use my tofu feta to accompany eggplant caponata on crusty sourdough bread, or add it to pastas that contain a vast variety and array of plants such as onions, garlic, white beans, arugula, capers, olives, and pine nuts. Plus, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the imitation of animal products per se. The point is, where is our emphasis? Are we spending more time, money, energy, and attention on making and enjoying plants in ways that are merely mimicry? Or are we exploring the vast array of ways that plant foods can be wildly delicious by paying attention to what they are in their nature and how they best shine as a result of that? Again, the point I want to drive home is that while plant-based versions of animal products may have their place, I think that the emphasis in our kitchens, and hopefully in a growing capacity in our restaurants across the board, can be to make and let plants shine, rather than relegating them to the role of mimicry. We ought to celebrate what they can be by bringing out their best qualities. To end on a practical note, what does this look like? What are some examples of plants at their best? I'll list some examples by country or region of origin to provide at least a bit of order to the list. So, for example, Italian food gives us basil pesto. Enough said. And the cheese here is not crucial. The basil, garlic, lemon, pine nuts, and olive oil really make it what it is. Then there's caponata, a mix of cooked vegetables including eggplant, bell pepper, tomato, zucchini, onions, garlic, and capers with olive oil and vinegar, eaten with crusty bread. We have puttanesca, a pasta with tomato, garlic, capers, and olives, made even better with some red pepper flakes. There's the fall favorite butternut squash ravioli with sage and hazelnuts, and wilted greens such as arugula or rocket. We have minestrone, the humble, warming soup chock full of veg, beans, and pasta, which could also be substituted for whole grains. And all manner of salads, soups, and pastas full of vibrant vegetables, legumes, and whole grains, amped up with flavorful oils, vinegars, and accoutrements like olives, capers, and fresh herbs. Mexican and Latin American food gives us tacos of any kind. I enjoy black bean, sweet potato, and corn tacos topped with pickled red onion, cilantro, lime, and guacamole. The sky's the limit here. Just be sure to vary your textures and have a good amount of acid and crunch on top. We also have fajitas, simply a lovely array of sautéed or grilled veg to fill tortillas up and top with salsa, guacamole, and hot peppers. There are enchiladas, such as those filled with refried beans, onions, and zucchini, topped with a rich chili pepper sauce. And even simple beans and rice, which may seem boring, but although humble, can make a super delicious meal if you pay attention to flavor. Middle Eastern food gives us hummus, of course, chickpeas at their best. And by the way, I recently posted what I believe to be the best Middle Eastern hummus recipe on Eden and Me. So check that out. Got the link in the show notes for a link to that recipe. Middle Eastern food also gives us muhammara, a rich dip consisting of roasted bell peppers and nuts, or beets if you prefer a magenta version, which I also have available as a recipe on edenandme.com. There's mujadara, a fragrant aromatic dish made with lentils, onions, rice, and cumin. Falafel, also a way that chickpeas shine, and these can be baked instead of fried if you'd like, and served up with a lovely garlic tahini sauce. There's tabbouleh, that punchy, bright herb salad that cuts through the richness of other dishes. Other dips and meze featuring veg such as the tomato-based lutanitsa, squash-based tershi, and so much more. Indian food gives us vegetable-exclusive dishes like aloo gobi, as well as an array of delicious sauces that can be served up with your protein or vegetable of choice. Think tofu, chickpeas, cauliflower, potatoes, peas, mushrooms, sweet potato, and more. And such sauces include makhani, or what is commonly known as the butter chicken sauce, tikka masala, saag, korma, or any number of versions of curry. And speaking of curry, there are various curries from Thailand, including my favorite, Penang, which can be filled with a variety of vegetables such as broccoli, carrots, bell peppers, mushrooms, snow peas, and more, and/or tofu, and served with rice. And of course, I could spend much more time unfolding the contributions that Japanese cuisine, Chinese, Korean, French, Greek, Ethiopian, Eastern European, Western African, and so many others could make to our celebration of plants and allowing them to shine. This is merely a starting place. So start considering your favorite food combinations that allow plants to shine, and I encourage you to prioritize cooking some of those up in the coming days and weeks. Next time you feel the urge to mimic animal foods, whether in your own cooking or when ordering food at a restaurant, ask yourself how you might celebrate the beauty of plants instead. If you have questions or topics you'd like me to address here on Eating for Eden, I'd love to hear from you. Send an email to edenandme@substack.com. Also, if you've been enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving a review. It's a great way to help me get these important words out to others. And if you want recipes, check out edenandme.com, where you can find a variety of delicious, healthy recipes to bring what you're learning here into the kitchen. Finally, become an email subscriber on Substack to have new podcast episodes delivered directly to your inbox. If you appreciate the work I'm doing and want to support the show, you'll also have the option of becoming a paid subscriber. That's all for now, friends. Until next time, be well. Thanks for listening to Eating for Eden. If you found this episode informative or inspiring, please consider sharing it with a friend. Climate change is an issue we all need to tackle together, so let's invite others to journey along with us as we continue the conversation and start taking action. Until next week, friends, take care.